Hello and welcome to my little bookish corner of the internet. My name's Harriet. Today I'm going to be taking part in the Are You Like Jane Austen tag. This tag was created by Shelly, Swearingen, and I was actually tagged a very long time ago by Rachael over at Rachel's Reading Nook. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get to this video, to be honest. I have got so many tags that I need to do and I've just been putting them off. But yeah, I'm going to take part in this today. It's appropriate because me and Rachael did a buddy read for Mansfield Park, which might be one of the worst books I've ever read. It was just very boring. But I do generally like Austen's writing, so I'm really excited to see if I'm anything like that author. Also, before we get started, I'd like to say that if you see this video and you want to take part in the tag, then I am officially tagging you right now. Okay, so the first prompt is, Jane Austen was an artist and a writer. Give yourself a point if you're an artist, an extra point if you're a writer. I am neither of those, so I am not a very creative person at all. I know people that have that creative streak and it just baffles me how that kind of stuff can exist in their mind, especially if they can put it down onto paper, whether it's through writing or whether it's through artistry. It's just incredible to me. I'm just not very creative. I can read a lot and that's about it. When I was younger, I did used to write silly little stories on the really old computer, which I think is in the garage, and I'm pretty sure my dad uses it for bookwork, so he's probably read them, which is very embarrassing. That kind of used to be my way of dealing with things that were going on in my life. Rather than writing a diary, I would kind of write short stories to get my anger out or to get my sadness out. That's kind of embarrassing. But since then I haven't really written anything, so I don't think I can say that I can get a point for either of those. So that's a really bad start. The next prompt is, Austen was born into a large family. She had a total of 7 siblings. That is a lot. 1 sister, 6 brothers. Give yourself a point if you have 3 or more siblings. I only have the 1, and that is my brother. He's 3 years older than me. So yeah, I definitely can't get a point for that one. I don't even know if I know anyone that has that many siblings. That's quite a lot. The next prompt is, Austen did not enjoy her formal education. Give yourself a point if you did not care for school. I definitely did not care for school. I think the school that I went to had a lot of problems, quite deep-rooted problems as well. They kind of came to light a couple of years after I left school. I was quite lucky because I left at 16 to do an apprenticeship, so I was technically still in education till I was 18, which is the law here in the UK, at least it was when I was that age. And yeah, I don't even know if they have sorted out those problems yet or not, but it was really awful, the things that were happening, and things just weren't dealt with properly. So in terms of mental health, for example, I feel like things are a little bit more spoken about now, but they weren't when I was in school. Absolutely not. It was just kind of brushed under the carpet and not spoken about. So mental health was definitely an issue in my school. Bullying was definitely a problem in my school, and then the education itself. Some of the teachers were brilliant, but a lot of them, you could tell they just didn't want to be there, or they were done with it, which it must be very, very hard to work with teenagers and children. I do understand that it would be difficult, but I always expected them to be a bit more enthusiastic about what they're doing, because I feel like to be good at anything you need to be passionate about it, and a lot of them didn't seem to have that passion and that fire. And yeah, I really didn't enjoy my time at school. And also my friendship group was kind of made up of people that I don't think were really my friends. I've not really ever spoken about this before on here. I think that we were friends because we didn't necessarily fit in anywhere else. At least that's how I felt. I know some of them do talk to each other still and hang out, which is really cute, but I just never really fit in with them. I think they just kind of accepted me in because I had nowhere else to go, which is very kind of them, but I never really felt like I belonged. So yeah, school for me was kind of difficult. I was very lucky in that I didn't get bullied, but I did know people that were close to me when I was in school that did get it really badly and it wasn't dealt with properly. And then in terms of education, I feel like I learned some things at school, but I think that there are certain things that need to be taught in school, like things for later on in life. Even just taxes and things like that were just not taught about in school, and actual things that are going to help you in your day-to-day life, you know. I didn't have the best time, so I mean, at least I get a point. Okay, the next prompt is, dark humour is woven throughout Austen's writing. Give yourself a point if you have a grim sense of humour. I don't really know how to answer this one because I feel like when I say something funny, I don't actually think about it. I don't really know that I'm being funny. I'm usually just quite blunt when I'm doing things like that. I tend to say things how they are, and I think people find that funny, so I wouldn't say that that is dark humour. I don't exactly tell jokes or anything like that. I don't think I'm a particularly funny person. Yeah, I've never really thought about that. Some people are just naturally funny and I don't think that I am. I think sometimes people laugh at me because I can be a bit silly sometimes, and then that's just about it. So no point for that one. The next prompt is Jane broke off 2 engagements and died a spinster. Give yourself a point if you are single. I am not single. Yeah, I don't get a point for that one. I didn't know that about Jane Austen though. That's really interesting. Austen experienced low spells, periods of depression. Give yourself a point if you have struggled with mental health. I think I'm very lucky with how mild my kind of low periods are. I don't know if it's specifically, how do I word this? So I don't suffer from depression or anything like that. I think for me, I get low periods because I'm an overthinker. So I do overthink things and I'm always very wary of what people think of me and how I'm coming across and whether people like me or not. I never want to be someone that people hate. That just absolutely breaks my heart, and I always want to be someone that people want to be around and that people enjoy talking to. So yeah, for me it's definitely an overthinking thing, which I think then leads into anxious feelings. I wouldn't say that I specifically have anxiety. I have not been diagnosed with that, so I'm not going to go out and say that because that's not right. But I do sometimes get very uncomfortable in certain situations. But I think everyone kind of gets that. That's just being human. And I'm very lucky that I don't suffer from things like anxiety attacks, panic attacks. So I suppose technically I could get a point, but I'm very lucky in that I don't suffer from anything super intense. And I think we're getting to a point, Rachael mentioned this in her video, where mental health is talked about a lot more than what it was when I was a teenager, when perhaps I could have done with more help than what I have now. So it's nice that that kind of help is available. And remember, if you want to reach out to someone, there are places that you can go. I'll leave some numbers and websites and things down below so you can check that out if you feel like you need help, and there are always people that you can talk to. So definitely, while that help is available, do try and make the most of it, because there are always people that are there for you, even if it feels like there aren't. Okay, the next prompt. Jane moved away from her childhood home in her 20s. Give yourself a point if you've lived away from your childhood home, town or region. I have not. I've lived in the town that I'm living in for the whole of my life. I'm hoping to move away, but it's just very expensive to move away. I think if we do end up living on the narrowboat, then we will travel along the canal network and maybe go to places like Cornwall, which I really, really love Cornwall. It's so beautiful there. And I think eventually we will move away. It's just figuring out like jobs and work and funding and things like that. So yeah, maybe one day, but I don't get a point for now. Jane was not vain. Give yourself a point if you have very little interest in vanity. I don't like the concept of vanity. I think that everyone should be proud of what they look like without being called vain. I really hate that. I don't know, if you're happy with the way that you look, then why shouldn't you be happy with the way that you look? I suppose if we're talking about vanity in the kind of traditional sense of someone walking around just constantly looking at their reflection everywhere they go, then I am not that. But I am always trying my hardest to look good, especially on special occasions and things like that. And I do sometimes worry about what people think of me if I'm having a down day, when I'm feeling really low, but I'm not constantly hoping that people will like check me out or anything like that. So I don't know if I would get a point for this. I suppose I wouldn't get a point because I do care about what people think, but at the same time, it's not everything to me. There are other things, and I don't always think about how other people look, so it is just me. I don't think I would get a point for this, but I also wouldn't call myself vain in the traditional sense, because I just don't agree with it at all. I feel like everyone should be happy with the way that they are, or they should be happy with how their makeup looks, or how their hair looks, or how they dress. Everyone should be happy doing what they're doing and not have to worry about other people thinking that they're vain. The next prompt kind of ties into that actually, which is, hair was of little concern to Austen. Give yourself a point if you cannot be bothered with your hair. So at the moment my hair is really annoying me because obviously I had my fringe. I'm trying to grow it out, but I did have to go and get a haircut, which meant that they kind of faded my old fringe into curtain bangs, which I don't really dig. I'm just trying to grow them out at this point. So at the moment I am having to style those just to kind of keep them looking less crazy. But where my hair was just regular, I didn't really care. I would put it in twists overnight so that it would curl naturally, brush it out in the morning, and I'm good to go. Sometimes I use dry shampoo. That's kind of the extent of it. So I don't really care too much about my hair. Sometimes I'll put it up, but I'm not too bothered what it looks like. As long as it stays up, then it's fine. So yeah, I suppose I get a point. And the last prompt is, Austen expressed her distaste for hot weather. Give yourself a point if you dislike the heat. I hate the heat so much. I love wintertime. I do like the sun. I like the feeling of a very mild sun being on my face, preferably in the winter or the autumn time. But when it gets to summer, especially here in the UK, it's just awful. And I try to make the most of it, but deep down, I'm always going to be a wintry person. I'm always going to like the cold and feeling nice and cozy, as opposed to feeling very like sweaty and uncomfortable. I always say in the winter you can put on more layers, but when it's hot you can only take off so many before it literally becomes illegal. So yeah, I'm definitely more of a winter person, so I would get a point. So those are all of the prompts out the way, and now I get to see how like Austen I am. So I got 4 points in total, which means that I got the 4 to 5 section, which is, though you have less in common with Jane than some, you could probably spend an afternoon with her chatting about your similarities and differences. I would love to talk to Jane Austen. I feel like she'd have quite a lot to say and that I could learn a lot from her, so I'm happy with that. And now we are at the end of the video. I wanted to ask you what your favourite Jane Austen book is. I haven't read all of her works yet, but I do absolutely love Persuasion. It's my favourite so far. I think the romance in there is really beautiful. There is that typical miscommunication trope in there, so if you don't enjoy that, you will probably really dislike this book. But I loved it more than Pride and Prejudice. I think it's just absolutely stunning, and Callum also bought it for me, so it has kind of sentimental value too. But that is definitely my favourite Jane Austen so far. But let me know your favourite, because I need to pick another one to read. I have read Pride and Prejudice, and I have read Mansfield Park. I still need to read Sense and Sensibility, Northanger Abbey. Oh, I have read Emma. And then I also need to read, I don't know what stories there are, but there's this little collection of 3. There's Lady Susan and then 2 others, I think. So I do need to read those as well, but I'm interested to see what your favourite is. Let me know why, and maybe that will be the next one that I read. Let me know if you take part in this tag, and I'll definitely check out your video. And thank you again, Rachel, for tagging me. This was a really fun one. But yeah, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!